How's it going, everybody? It's John Low Fox. This is my show where I talk about anime, video games, cartoons, and today I am doing another live stream. Yep, that's 2 days in a row. Yep, as promised, I said that I was going to do a live stream because this subject has been kind of on my mind since, Superman's kind of been the talk of the town lately. So here I am doing a stream about Superman and stuff. So I'll be talking about some Superman stories and stuff and just how they're generally like because I feel like there's a certain demographic of people that just don't understand Superman. And I'm not just saying like, oh, it's just people that think that, for example, Superman's outdated or he's not relevant or whatever, or you should retire the character. But it's also like the side too where they're like, oh, I want Christopher Reeve Superman. I want Superman to be lighthearted and blah 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 and all that stuff. It's a little bit of both. So I just kind of want to set the record straight. So I'm going to talk about some of these Superman stories here, and I got my comics and stuff right here, as you can see. So I'm not going to be obviously reading all of them, but I'm going to be kind of picking some comics and stuff to kind of refer to and stuff to kind of get you a little bit, I guess, interested. But yeah. So, anyways, let's see how this goes. I'll probably chill for a second as I kind of get this set up and maybe wait for some people to come in. But yeah. All right, I am back. Sorry about that. I wanted to fix up the thumbnail a little bit, but I'll probably edit that a little bit later. But anyways, what's going on? Kanzutai. I know, I'm just kidding. I mean, not Kanzu. I mean, what am I saying? Sorry, I was setting up that joke. What's happening, Tiki Toby and stuff? Bless you. I know what you mean. Konnichiwa. Back to you two. What's happening? The fierce, sympathetic Black Queen doing the live stream and stuff. Yep. About to talk about some Superman and stuff. You know how it is. I kind of wanted to kind of just show, talk a little bit about the character and stuff and what I've been thinking about lately and all that stuff. To kind of, inform some people in case they don't know. But yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, basically, this is a little bit about is Superman too boring, and he's a lot more darker as a character than you realize. So that's what I wanted to talk about here. And as you can see, I got my Whisper plushie right here on the side, and I got my Superman comics over here, in this little graphic novel. So I'm going to be talking about some of this stuff, and I might actually read off some stuff from the actual comic, from the panels and stuff, to kind of show you like my point and all that stuff. So let me just get to my notes here. So when it comes to Superman, people are reluctant to kind of read him because they think that he's overpowered or he's just too perfect or he's not as cool as Batman. But it's kind of like, I mean, but how would you know if you don't actually read his stories, kind of thing? And people kind of go off of what they know based off of like the movies, like the Christopher Reeves movies and stuff, for example, the video games like Injustice, or cartoons and stuff, since it's kind of more consumable. But not a lot of like casuals could really just name a lot of Superman like villains apart from like of course Lex Luthor, Darkseid, Brainiac, and sometimes maybe Zod or Doomsday, since they had more like representation in a lot in like media because they've been portrayed on the movies and the cartoons and all that stuff. So of course they stand out the most. But what about some of Superman's other villains like Parasite? What about who has the ability to like literally steal Superman's powers? What about Livewire, who is like like a literal force of nature? Like she is actual lightning itself. What about Silver Banshee, who can like literally steal your life force? Because she doesn't just have supersonic screaming and stuff. She can like literally her little ghostly wail or banshee wail or whatever she calls it. That shit, like if you're in like an earshot, she can pretty much kill you by stealing your life force and stuff just from like hearing it and all that stuff. But what about Mongol, Cyborg Superman, Imperiax, the Fearsome Five, which I guess you guys don't know, the Fearsome Five was the High Five from Teen Titans and stuff. So they're kind of a bit of a shared villain between Superman and the Teen Titans and stuff. So like Gizmo, Mammoth and stuff, Shimmer. Jinx is more so a Wonder Woman villain, but still. Scion, Doctor Light, yeah, they're the Fearsome Five. They've gone up against Superman before and all that stuff. So yeah, so they do kind of count as part of his villains and stuff. But what about Metallo, Gang, etc.? So it's not like every story arc is about Superman rescuing like some cat out of a tree or something, or him not going through like any kind of struggle whatsoever. Because of course, I mean, the character's been around for like 80 years, so of course he's going to struggle. You know what I mean? Then you got a lot of other like a lot of people on the other side that just want Superman to be like to just remain constantly lighthearted, and that you're not allowed to give Superman like some kind of grit. That's why people kind of have this misconception that he's a boring character when no other side of that like conversation has really taken a chance on him to actually read his stories. Not the people that say, "Oh, I think I want Superman to stay this lighthearted character." I mean, I don't really think you actually read his comics if that's the case. You know what I mean? But that's just how I feel. But yeah, or if you're feeling like, oh well, he should always stay lighthearted and stuff, then that just kind of feels like you just don't want the character to actually have any kind of characterization, or at least feel humanized and stuff like that, Because he does actually have an actual personality and stuff. He can't just be like, well, I believe in the greater good no matter what. Like what? So yeah, but yeah, but yes, Toby, my Whisper Wolf plushie. I mean, Whisper the Wolf plushie. I got a bunch of other plushies too, but I just wanted to just show off this one for whatever reason because I like Whisper as a character, so why not? So, anyways, let me get right into it. So, basically, when people think of like that whole lighthearted Superman and stuff, of course they think of like Silver Age with Christopher Reeve stuff, whatever. And I mean, here's the Man of Steel comics that I have. This is actually a mini series talking about like it's a 6-part mini series about Superman's origin and stuff. So far, I only have 4 comics. So as you can see right here, I got issue 1, I got issue 2. This one's following Lois Lane. I got issue 3. This one I actually got recently, not too long ago, from like a Comic Con. But yeah, or not, my bad, not a Comic Con. I actually got this on Free Comic Book Day. So yeah, but this is where Superman and Batman meet up for the first time, and then this one right here is where Superman takes on Bizarro and all that stuff. And yeah, but I mean, but I've read all of the Man of Steel comics and stuff. Like I've read what I don't have already on like online. So yeah, did Sega remove canon ages of all Sonic characters? Yeah, so I heard they have removed the ages, but I mean, I already have my own assumption. Anyways, like it's just one of those things where like with Sega, you can kind of just be like, well, you can just ignore that because sometimes Sega kind of does some dumb stuff or says some dumb stuff, but you can always just tune it out and be like, yeah. kind of like how they said that Team Dark isn't actually like they're not friends, but they're just coworkers and stuff. And I'm like, so throughout everything they've been through and all that stuff, and all the dynamic and all that stuff that they have, they're just coworkers and not friends at all. Like that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so I wouldn't really take everything that Sega says. Yeah, and just go off of your own kind of assumption. How's it going? Didn't expect a double stream. Yeah, yeah, I kind of said it the other day, but I didn't say it enough. But welcome matches. But I'm doing a stream about Superman and stuff. I wanted to talk about how like how the character is a lot more darker than what people will give him credit for or realize and all that stuff. Yesterday was more of me just getting out some like talking about creativity and stuff and random talks and all that. You know how it was. So I just wanted to get that out the way, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about Superman in a separate stream. And since I still got the house to myself, because my family kind of stepped out and went all the way to another state, so I got the house to myself for a weekend. So I figured might as well get the most mileage out of it. So that's why I'm doing it. And it's been a while since I've done it. Like Omni Man, if he's an anti-hero, Superman but darker. Yeah, Omni Man. Yeah, he's supposed to be like a dark take on Superman. The only difference is, like, of course, is that Omni Man, he was raised as a Viltrumite and stuff, and he's like thousands of years old. So yeah, so that's why he's like a little bit more jaded and more of an anti-hero compared to like Superman, who was raised on Earth and all that. But yeah, is Whisper still 16, or are you not sure? I'm gonna stick with, yeah, she's still like 16 or something, like around the same age as Sonic. Um, since they listed Sonic to be 15, which technically I kind of consider him to be a lot older, you can probably also just think that maybe Whisper is probably like a year older than Sonic, perhaps by that logic. And Tangle, I think she was listed 15 too, so she might be around the same age as Sonic. It's a whole thing. But I'll just leave it to your kind of imagination. Still a teenage girl. Yeah, basically. I think people consider Superman for only for kids because his world doesn't seem as dark as Gotham. Well, I mean, it can be sometimes. I mean, Metropolis, it's like a very prosperous city and stuff where it's got like big shots like Lex Luthor and stuff, where it's like, oh, got all this technology and stuff like that. But like they definitely got their darker parts, like the suicide slums and stuff like that. Yeah. What up, man? What's happening, Dr. Hino? Welcome back. But yeah, but yeah, definitely. So let me get right into it. So where do I even begin? So usually when people kind of think of like Superman, they kind of imagine this whole like, oh, lighthearted stuff or whatever, where he's like, let me open up this comic right here. So this is the second issue of Man of Steel, basically where this part is actually following Lois Lane. I'll probably show you the origin a little bit later, the first one. But basically, Lois is basically trying to spend the entire issue trying to get an interview with Superman. And this is like Superman's earlier days where he's like, flying around, doing some good, making a name for himself in Metropolis and all that stuff. Here, you see a lady with a radio and stuff, and she gets like mugged by this purse snatcher and stuff, and then Superman shows out of the blue, and it's like, oh, stopping him and stuff like that or whatever. And then, he kind of leaves them for the police, and he just gives the lady back her purse and tells her to, hey, can you turn the radio down a little bit? You're kind of disturbing everybody else and stuff. And then he just flies off. Then you got this little police hostage situation and all this stuff where they're like, oh man, um, like this is really what you call it, a little bit of a deli of a pickle and stuff. And then Superman shows up, and they're like, man, who's this guy and stuff? I'm like, where'd you come from, like a circus or whatever? And then Superman's all confident and stuff, is like, yeah, I can handle this. So then this guy pulls out the machine gun on Superman, and he's like, all right, and then he like bends the shit. See, look at this. And then in the next panel, the guys like start blasting at Superman and all that stuff. Like, yeah, and like of course you see the bullets and stuff bouncing off his chest like it's nothing. They're like, oh shit, this guy's bulletproof. And then he, uses heat vision and stuff to kind of disarm the armed shooters and stuff like that, and then takes them out. And then one of the ladies and stuff that was like a lady that was a part of the armed robbers and stuff. She's like, well, you wouldn't hit a lady, would you? And then Superman takes off her glasses and just knocks her out and is like, well, yeah, but I've never seen a lady who would carry around dynamite under her coat and stuff and all this other stuff. So this is kind of like that lighthearted Superman that everybody kind of like talks about that they say they want and stuff like that. And again, this ain't me trying to take a shot at James Gunn or whatever, or the Christopher Reeve stuff, like with the Richard Dahmer and all that. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, you're into that kind of thing. But what I'm saying though, it's not exactly like that's not really a like a representation of like Superman in itself, you know? Because the reason why I kind of went out of my way to kind of buy like these Superman comics and stuff, because I think I've been buying some Superman comics for a couple of years. What's happening, SSJ Namikaze? Welcome to the stream. As you can see, I am talking about Superman. But anyways, where was that? Saying stuff about Superman. But yeah, but usually when people like, the reason why I went on my way to buy these comics and stuff, and I think I've been collecting these comics for about like a good 2 years and stuff. So because I kind of realized to myself that I know that live action wise, they're probably not going to really get Superman right after the whole after they had cut off like Henry Cavill and they were trying to do all this stuff with that, and then My Adventures of Superman happened, and I was like, yeah, we're really not going to get the like a good Superman thing at least in quite a while. So or a more serious take on the character where he's not like dopey, nerdy, and all that other stuff. So yeah. So anyways, this is still the kind of Superman that everyone kind of wants, where he's like smiley, flying around and stuff. Here he saves Lois and stuff. Who Lois kind of drove her car off the off the what you call it into the water and stuff to try and get an interview with Superman and everything. But then Superman kind of realized later that she had like some kind of what was it they call it, an aquatic lung, like one of those little oxygen things to kind of save herself in case he didn't show up, and a rescue team on standby. But yeah, and then he's like, oh yeah, Miss Lane, and all that, and she's like, no, just call me Lois. And then Superman's like, oh, I don't drink and all that stuff or whatever, that kind of thing. But what Superman villain is underrated in my opinion? I'll get to your comment in a second, Tiki Toby, because I definitely do have probably an answer for that one. What Superman villains are underrated in your opinion? I think people don't get a clue in the franchise if they call Brainiac and Metallo underrated. I don't know if Brainiac is really underrated per se, but yeah, Metallo, yeah, is definitely an underrated villain in my opinion. Um, if I had to say that comes to mind, it's probably Silver Banshee in my opinion. I think that's a very underrated character. And honestly, like apart from Justice League Unlimited, because she had like a appearance inside Justice League Unlimited, Silver Banshee's never really been adapted properly inside anything like the CW Supergirl show and stuff. She wasn't really adapted properly in there. I like the outfit though that she had, but her origin though is nah, they got that completely wrong, which I found out later. And then or at least when I learned more about it, because I already heard it was wrong anyways, and I was like, oh okay, that makes sense. Or what was it? Oh yeah, My Adventures of Superman, where they gave her some kind of technology or something like that, and I'm like, what is going on here? But no, because Silver Banshee's powers are like magic related, and it's because she comes from this certain kind of clan or whatever, like this Irish clan and all this other stuff or whatever. It's a whole thing, and basically she was supposed to get this like birthright and all that stuff because she was the firstborn in her family at the time in that generation, but they kind of passed her up because she was a woman and all that stuff. So they're like, nah, it's probably the firstborn sons, not firstborn daughters. So they passed it up and gave it to her brother, and she was like, whoa, hold on, this is some BS. So then she did some ritual stuff, and then that's how she became Silver Banshee and all that stuff or whatever. So yeah, yeah. So I can kind of see why they kind of avoid her origin a little bit in modern day because they try to make her like, oh, like feminism and all that stuff. I'd say Silver Banshee is heavily overshadowed by Livewire. I mean, Livewire is okay in my opinion too. But anyways, what if Superman met Homelander? Person myself, if Superman ever met Homelander or if he was in the world of the boys and stuff, I do personally think that Superman will be able to take down Homelander like it's nobody's business. And I'm not even talking about like just physically either. I'm talking about like he'll take him down physically, he'll take him down mentally, and he'll also take him down like professionally too, because he's a journalist and stuff. He's an investigative reporter and all that stuff. he can definitely find out about the shady things that Homelander and the Seven do and stuff, and he can easily get this stuff to like to the press and everything, and then completely expose Homelander and the Seven and stuff. And then they can probably do things like, oh, we're gonna threaten and we're gonna intimidate you and stuff like that. They're not gonna do they're not gonna do anything to Clark Kent and stuff. Who's Superman 24/7? Who got his powers? Like, come on, like what exactly are you gonna do to him? You know what I mean? How are you gonna stop him? So yeah, nah. If Superman was inside the Boys' universe, oh yeah, he would dismantle that like it's nothing. And I think even Classic Demon was probably saying that too, actually in the short. But yeah, man. But anyways, let me get back to this. So, anyways, this is what we got right here, and all that stuff. And this story pretty much ends where Clark gets the job at the Daily Planet and stuff, and he pretty much snubs the Lois who wanted to get like who had that interview ready for Superman. So it is what it is. But anyways, that's Man of Steel issue 2. Again, that's kind of like that lighthearted Superman type of stuff that people kind of like crave or they say that they want. But I'm gonna definitely get into the darker stuff when I get to it. That's for sure. I'm so sick of Homelander. Comparison to Superman, I'm so tired out. Oh, I don't know why you're tired out of it. I mean, well, I mean, I get it because Homelander is supposed to be like a derivative of Superman. Just well, you know. But yeah. All right. So where else do I want to start with here? Because I want to stay on this lighthearted Superman thing real quick, and then I'll bleed into like the more darker stuff, like when we get to it. And there are some stories that I have read that I don't exactly own myself. So I will probably talk about that eventually too. But I don't have like a reference or anything to like really pull from. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Hmm. All right. Well, I guess I'll talk about issue 1 then of Man of Steel, the miniseries, unrelated to Superman, but rewatching Into the Spider Verse. I really wish Marvel would have showed respect to Jessica Drew again. She deserves way more adaptations than Spider Gwen. On that, Ashes, I totally agree. I totally agree because, excuse me, Spider Woman. Sorry, I'm drinking my soda from Chick-fil-A. But anyways, yeah, Jessica Drew definitely deserves way more respect than Spider Gwen. I'll tell you that for sure. Completely agree. Stuff like yeah, that is crazy how she's been adapted more than Jessica Drew, a character that's been around since like the 70s. But yeah. So anyways, this is the issue 1 and stuff. This is where John Byrne. It's not the of course it's not the first issue or anything of Superman or whatever. It's the first issue of this miniseries that was like a retelling or the well, it was the origin of basically post-crisis Superman and all that stuff. Basically, from like what was it, 1986 or 87? Yeah. So basically, the first half of the story, Superman's biological parents, Jor-El and Laurel and stuff, and Jor-El talking about like sending Superman to like sending him to Earth and all that stuff, where he'll be good and all that stuff. So you get a little bit of the Kryptonian, like you see like a little bit of their culture, their what they wear and stuff like that, how they act and everything, and then the destruction of Krypton and all that stuff. And then we kind of cut like about 18 years into the future, where Superman's like a teenager and stuff. He's playing football and everything. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, go Clark, go Clark!" You know what I mean? Like he was like complete Chad back in school and stuff. Cheerleaders loved him and everything. The guys were jealous of him. The coach was like, "Man, this man's about to make me some millions and stuff." And then Paul Kent kind of on the side with the little hat and stuff, and it was like, "Yeah, he could." And then because he knows that obviously he got like superpowers and shit. So this is where, they take a ride and he kind of tells, Clark about how he's different from others and stuff and how he's like how he was actually adopted and stuff because the whole time he thought, oh, I thought I was your actual kid and stuff. But nope, found him in a rocket ship and stuff, adopted him. He has superpowers and stuff that makes him different from your average mortal and all that stuff. So yeah. And then this is the Kents taking them in and everything, as you can see. So going back to Superman, what's your favorite comic book run? Can't really say I have one right now. I'm kind of still writing out the titles. I've read a lot of storylines. Well, not a lot, but I think I read at least enough storylines to at least talk about it. But I would say between that John Burns and like Dan Jurgens and stuff. Yeah, kind of like that. But I can't wait until I get into the 2000 stuff because I like the artwork for that, and I think the stories would definitely be a lot more serious and stuff. Going more into it. So, as you can see here, this is like Superman growing up and everything, and how Paul Kent kind of realized he was definitely different from others and stuff. Like one time when he saw him like get run over like literally by a bull and stuff, and he was like, "Oh my god!" Like I was expecting like you to be a puddle of. I guess I was explaining this right now. So let's see. All right, so I'm gonna try and read some of Paul Kent's dialogue. You seemed in every way to be the baby we so often prayed for. Beautiful, bright, perfect. When it comes to time to start school, you at my bad, you fit right in with the others, especially little Lana Lang. Seemed like you two were kindred spirits right from the go. Everything went along just fine until that one day when you were 8 and you decided to take a shortcut across Old Man McCullen's uh, pasture. Sorry, I can't really see too well with the light. I was driving by. I saw you, and I also saw McCullen's prize bull, but there was no way to get to you before. I felt like I've seen my own life in at that very moment, Clark. I ran to where you've fallen, fully excited. I mean, I say excited, expecting to find you all crushed and bloody, the way my big brother Harry had looked after he fell under my paws on Thresher. Yeah, pretty dark stuff, isn't it? But instead, Pa, Clark, you're all right. That's when he first realized he got the powers and stuff and everything. Oh, what's happening, El Conque? Welcome to my stream again. That was the first time. That was the first sign. I didn't tell your ma about it. I don't know how to tell her, but your secret wasn't one that could be kept from her for that long. You couldn't be hurt. You got stronger and stronger. One day, even started to see through walls. Oh, there's your purse, Ma, under the kitchen table. In the next room? Then came the day late last summer you were rumping your way home with old Rusty. Come on, boy, catch me if you can. Holy cow, I can fly? Yeah, so at that point he kind of realized, oh shit, I got powers and stuff. And Paul Kent was telling him that, yeah, obviously you're different and all that stuff or whatever. Stefan, what's happening? Facts. Yep. So basically, pretty much it's more of an origin comic and stuff. Clark kind of comes home from like Metropolis and stuff, realizing that his life could possibly be over and stuff because he saw like, and this is kind of the first time he actually met Lois Lane in person. And I actually remember like CW Supergirl because when I was reading this too, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's what CW Supergirl had based that off of because there was a scene in the first episode of the CW Supergirl where um, Kara's sister, her adopted sister Alex, she was in danger and stuff when her plane was about to crash, and Kara had to like sacrifice like her identity sort of to kind of like save her and everything. So then she had to do the whole Clark Kent thing and all that stuff or whatever. Yeah, so I see that they got that based off of this where oh, just like Kara and stuff, like Clark saved Lois when the plane was about to like crash and stuff, and she was like kind of like just doing a little bit of reporting or whatever on it and like saves the people and all that stuff. And obviously he was just in regular clothes and stuff, but he didn't he didn't get the glasses or anything like that yet. And then all these people showed up and it was like, oh my god, you can be like a superstar and blah blah blah. And then this is where the Kents kind of work together with Superman on like kind of making an identity for him and all that stuff. And this is kind of also an interesting idea too when you think about it, or at least how I see it, where like when you look at Superman, right, without the glasses, he looks a lot more like his biological dad, Jor-El, right? Like the spinning image of him. But then when he puts on the glasses and kind of combs his hair back a little bit like this and stuff, he looks exactly like Paul Kent, you know? And I think they even pointed that out too. He was like, meet the new Clark Kent. Sema, with his hair all slicked back and on an old pair of like speckles, his whole face seems to change. All he needs to do is to like stoop a tad, and he looks like a whole different man. As long as he is careful never to let on that he has two separate identities, he'll be able to move freely like ordinary folks. So yeah, what do you think about Superman, his foes, in the 2004 Batman? It's been a while actually since I've seen the 2004 Batman. I remember definitely that. Well, of course, because Superman and the Justice League was in the last season of the 2004 Batman, and there was that episode like they had episodes where they kind of crossed over and stuff, where they teamed up and stuff towards the final season. It was all right. I remember, yeah, like that episode with Superman. I think it was a two-part where pretty much yeah, Batman and Superman like were working together and stuff, and then Superman got brainwashed by like Lex Luthor and Poison Ivy into fighting Batman, kind of like, well, Batman Hush, I guess. And I guess yeah, I remember. Um, Not too many enemies I can really remember that was like from Superman, apart from like Lex Luthor and Mercy Graves. But yeah, that's just about it. But yeah, but let me get into some of the more darker stuff. So I'm just saying that's the kind of lighthearted stuff that people kind of look forward to when they think about Superman. But they don't actually talk about like some of the more darker moments that actually do happen in some of these comics and stuff. Like for example, Paul and Ma Kent. Like now, I got a question that I don't think a lot of people really think about when they think of like Paul and Ma Kent, right? But why else do you think that Clark is their only son? You don't think that they ever tried to at least have other children or anything like that in the past, or they never, you know? And that's actually answered here because unfortunately they've had a couple of miscarriages. That's not something to go to that. Yeah, that's pretty dark, isn't it? Oh yeah, this is actually a funny scene right here. Let me go to this. This is actually kind of funny. So like, this is where they were planning on sending, his parents were planning on sending him to Earth and stuff. And the Kryptonians, they're a little bit like, we don't engage in like physical activity per se, like, well, stuff like sex or whatever, or they don't do stuff like, like expose themselves. So they wear these like this type of clothing and all that stuff or whatever. It's a whole thing. But anyways, let me read some of this real quick because it's a little bit funny, real quick. Across the reaches of the space, I have searched and found a last of a distant world, a world not unlike Krypton, of millennium past, a world natives call Earth. It looks so wild, so uncontrolled. What manner of beings could dwell on such a world? See for yourself a nation called America in a subsection called Kansas. Oh, oh, that's Superman's mom. Look at her reaction. Look at her reaction. Laura, what's wrong? That's savage. His bare, his naked flesh, his hairy flesh bears to. I swear to God, I'm not making this dialogue up. He touches the unprocessed soil. Oh, Jor-El, what kind of hell do you seek to send our child into? Yeah, man. I'm just saying, not a hell, Laura. For him, at least more of a heaven for the planet called Earth, orbits called the yellow sun. Exposed to the radiation of that star, his Kryptonian cells would become living solar batteries, making him grow even more powerful. Yeah, you get the gist. But yeah, just a funny scene I wanted to show off real quick. But this is what I really wanted to go to. Let me see. Let me hold on. Oh yeah, I saw SSJ's comment. Not as cool or interesting as Batman, the Superman crossover in the animated series. Oh yeah, yeah. World's Finest. Yeah, not as memorable as World's Finest, but it was okay. It wasn't bad. And yeah, they had other crossovers too, like what was it, nighttime and stuff. I think that was the episode where Superman, so Batman got captured by Brainiac, and Superman had to stand in for Batman and was working with Robin and stuff. I thought that was a pretty cool episode. And then there was that other episode where Superman got captured by like Ra's al Ghul and Talia, and Batman was trying to like work with like Lois Lane and all that, and figure out where Ra's al Ghul was keeping Superman and all that stuff because Ra's was trying to steal Superman's powers so that he can, keep himself immortalized and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, and then also that crossover too between Batgirl and Supergirl was also pretty good too. But hang on, let's see. I'm trying to get to the part where the miss. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, those monsters. Oh wait, hang on. Let me start actually right here. Oh, Jonathan, it's a baby. Wait. Well, actually, let me start right here. All right. We drove out to the field where the streak had seemed to hit, and we found, oh my. Oh no, my, I'm saying that in a feminine voice. Oh my. Jonathan, what in the world is it? It's some kind of little rocket, a sprinklet or whatever. Like the Russians. Martha, stay clear. But look, Jonathan, there's something inside, something alive. Well, there's been sending dogs and monkeys up into orbit. This must be. That's not funny. Hey, that's funny. It's cool to the touch. I read that they got a lot of awful hot wind. It's opening. Oh, Jonathan, it's a baby. Those monsters. They put a poor little baby in a rocket ship, and then they shot him off into the moon or somewhere. What kind of people are they? Now you be careful, Martha. You don't know that this baby came from Earth. He could be like some kind of Martian. Oh, now you hush, Jonathan Kent. You've been reading too many of them science action magazines. He's as human as you and me, and I'm going to make sure that whoever the monsters were who shot him up into that tin can, well, they're never going to get their hands on him again. Martha, but it was already too late. She's a stubborn woman, your ma, and she decided right at the moment she first saw you that she was going to keep you. By the end of the drive home, I agreed, and that was when Mother Nature herself had clinched the bargain. We no sooner pulled into the yard than the grandfather of all the blizzards slammed down. It was the worst storm of the century. We didn't get back into Smallville for 5 months, and when we did, why Martha just plainly announced our new family member as our own natural child. We've been trying for 8 years to have a baby of our own, and after two miscarriages and one stillborn, our friends were just thrilled as it could be to meet little Clark Kent. Yeah, pretty dark, huh? There was a Metallo. Oh yeah, Metallo was in there too. Only Metallo in 2004 series, aside from Lex, I guess they weren't allowed to use Toyman, so they came up with the Toy Maker, who was a more of a Batman villain. Oh, hang on, there we go. Yeah, I like both of the crossovers. I made a video about the Red Skull laughing at Fat Captain America eating a Big Mac. That's interesting. Anyway, what else? So yeah, some dark moments. Of course, Pa Kent's brother dying. Um, if in case you guys don't know, Lois Lane actually has a younger sister named Lucy Lane, and Lucy, one time it was actually a time where she actually tried to commit suicide and stuff actually because she had like lost her eyesight and stuff like that, and she was like, "My life is over" and all that stuff, because she was just like, yeah, like I can't make it being blind and stuff. I'm just not as strong. And her and Lois had an argument and stuff because she was staying over at Lois's place and everything. And and Lois was trying to like reassure her, like, look, everything's gonna be okay. Just chill, okay? And then while Lois is at work, Lucy was like, all right, I got to do this now before she gets back. But I'm sorry, Lois, I'm just not as strong as you. And then that's when we insert Bizarro. Here it is. Lucy, I'm off to the salt mines now. Are you sure you'll be okay on your own? Babe, Lois, please, I'll be fine. You gotta stop worrying about me. Hey, what's with that big sister? That's what big sisters are for, kiddo. But you got your sunglasses on in the house again. Doctor Kenneth told you. I really don't care what he said, Lois. I'm not wearing these because I need to. I'm wearing them because I want to. Because I don't want anyone seeing my eyes. Lucy, believe me, your eyes don't look all that much different now than when they did before. Before I was blinded? Don't kid me, Lois. I've seen enough blind people to know what I look like before, and I don't want anyone else to see me. That's unfair, Lucy, and you know it. Now, every blind person has something wrong with their eyes that you can see, and neither do you. Yeah, well, let me wallow in my bitterness then. Let the whole damn world look at me and know I'm blind. Let them all pity me, Lucy. Oh, don't listen to me, sis. I just got up in the wrong side of the bed this morning. Go to work. Go be a crusading reporter and don't worry about me, please. You sure? You're okay? I'll be fine. I've got a ton of Braille books to practice on. They'll keep me occupied. I could call in sick today, and I'll be fine. Look, I'll even take off the cheaters, just for you. And then, as soon as Lois leaves, she'll be crying to herself. Then I'm gonna cut to where she was about to jump. Okay, here we go. Why not? Why not try to? Why try to kid myself any longer? I'm a flight attendant. I've never had the slightest interest in doing anything else. Never trained to do anything else, and there's just no demand for blind flight attendants. So forgive me, Lois. And then she jumps, as you can see. Pretty dark. And then, well, someone catches her. Oh, what? Superman? Is it really you? My sister told me that she met you a bunch of times, but I never expected Superman. Why don't you say something? You just stopped me from killing myself. Aren't you going to lecture me or something? And why do you feel so strange or so dusty? Superman? Superman, are you still here? Superman? And then he flies off. And it's not really actually Superman, it's actually Bizarro and stuff before he kind of broke down and stuff. And all that is probably the first version of Bizarro because Lex Luthor developed a grudge against Superman and all that stuff, and he was trying to make like a basically like a clone of Superman that would listen to him and everything and be obedient, and that didn't exactly work out so well. But the Bizarro clone had kind of developed a little bit of Superman's good nature, and in the end, it kind of sacrificed itself during its fight against Superman to help Lucy Lane kind of see again. So that was actually pretty interesting. So yeah, pretty interesting ending. All right, what else? Dark moments that's happened inside Superman. Ooh, this is a good one, and I might actually read this one definitely for sure. See you guys. Sorry, I like to keep things in a little bit of order. Oop. This one. So as you can see, I got this covered because I was like, well, why not? I didn't know what the story was at first, but yeah, you're responsible for the deaths of billions of beings, and for that you must die. And as you can see, like at first I didn't know who that was under the like under the hood and all that stuff, right? But if you take a closer look and stuff, like the executioner mask and all that stuff, like besides the executioner mask, and you take a look, oh, it's Superman. He's using kryptonite on somebody. So let me pull it up. Since it's great TMNT had a crossover with DC, I wish IDW released Justice League and Justice Force crossover. That'd be interesting. It's been a long time since they've really done anything with the Justice Force, but that would definitely help their power scaling. That's for sure. Oof, yeah, because I was reading a little bit of this earlier to kind of get ready for the stream. The cold is so intense. I feel even through the invulnerable skin. The silence is so absolute, not even my super hearing can penetrate it. It is the cold of deep space. It is the silence of death. I look down on the shattered landscape below me and try to imagine how it must have been before the war began, how much it must have looked like on my own Kansas, my own Smallville, when the fields were lush with grain and the skies were full of birds. My vision powers reveal no sign of life in Smallville. When children played in the streets, the old folks sat on the vendalas or whatever, smiling at at their memories and the promise of all that lay ahead, promises that would forever remain unfulfilled. And if there is no life here, then except for four others and myself, there is no life anywhere in the universe. In this universe, and we five, three are villains, inhuman monsters, such as I have never dreamed existed. And then this, I'm gonna kind of just skip around a little bit. Let's see. And this is the last. So basically, let me explain the story. So basically, story is this is Matrix. This isn't just a regular Supergirl. This is actually Matrix Supergirl, the first Supergirl inside the post-crisis universe. So Matrix Supergirl, she's basically like this amorphous blob type of character and stuff, where she can like shapeshift and all that, and she has like DNA of Lana Lang from like a alternate universe and stuff, right? So basically, Lex Luthor in that dimension, I think, created Matrix Supergirl to help them fight against the generals out of that world and all that stuff who had a encounter or who used to be like a villain or something of, I think, the classic Superboy, which is not Connor Kent, but I mean like the OG Superboy, like when they were doing that whole Clark Kent thing where, oh, there's a story of Superman, but before that he was Superboy, where he had adventures in Smallville and his love interest was Lana Lang and stuff like that or whatever. So I think that's what they're referring to. So, anyways, this is like pretty much General Zod and his men killing off a lot of the like the remaining people and stuff. So you got like Bruce Wayne and stuff. He died in this fiery crash and everything. Um, in this universe right here, pretty fucked up. You also had other characters too, like let me get to it, like Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen and those panels right there and stuff. This fiery crash, I'm not sure who is who, but this could be either Hal Jordan or Oliver Queen, and this could be either Hal or Oliver and stuff. But these guys were getting like killed off by like the Kryptonians in this universe, and they seem to be a little bit stronger than Superman and stuff. And Superman's like working with this version of Lex Luthor and stuff. They're like strategize like a plan and all that stuff to how to defeat them and stuff. So then Lex Luthor was able to come up with gold kryptonite, which, in case you guys know your kryptonite basically, like gold kryptonite, has the ability to kind of strip away a Kryptonian's like powers permanently and stuff, right? Not just like absorb their solar cells to the point where they just like kill them and all that stuff. So basically, after like Lex dies and stuff like that, and Superman captures the remaining Kryptonians and takes away their powers, they're laughing and stuff, talking about something. So let me read this. Let me go back a little bit. Hang on. Now, while those three monsters languish in my jury rigged prison, I gotta find Lex. He's alive, barely. Gotta use his spare emergency oxygen mask. Lex, can you hear me? Superman, sorry about the deception with the Supergirl. Lana was one of the first killed. I used my molecular matrix to create a pattern for promatter, artificial life form. My creation hoped you come if it was Lana. She never knew she wasn't real. Never mind that, now Lex. What I want to know is why you didn't use the gold kryptonite before. if you knew it was there. All this could have been prevented years ago. Call it ego, Superman. It was my fault Zod and the others escaped from the Phantom Zone. I wanted it to be by my hand that they were defeated. This world was paid a terrible price for my folly, Superman. You must make sure it never happens again. Lex, he's gone. And then here we go. He was the last living human of this world on this world. Now that he's gone, there is nothing more to keep me here. Nothing except the disposition of the three last survivors of the Krypton of this universe. Ha ha ha! And you got this version of General Zod right here. So he's like, "You may have robbed us of our powers, Superman, but that will anvil that anvil you nothing. We will find a way to get them back. We will find a way to get your reality, to get to your reality, and we will destroy your world. You cannot stop us. You cannot return us to the Phantom Zone. And what can you do? Who wear the mantle of Superboy? You share his pathetic idealism. You cherish life, even ours, and that is what makes you weak. I'm not weak, Zod. It is you who are weak. You three who have used your powers only for evil. That is easy way. That is the easy way. And while you're powerless now, you're still Kryptonians. What I must now do is harder than anything I've ever done before. But as the last representative of law and justice on this world, it falls to me to act as judge, jury, and executioner. And then they're like dying. It's like a green kryptonite. No, no, Superman, don't do this, please. It wasn't me. It was an accident. It was an innocent foil. I do. And then he calls their Kryptonian name. What? Why are you lying, dogs? Treacherous to the last, Zod. Then it shall not be Superman's hand that you die by, but mine. Superman, please spare me. I will do anything. I will be your slave. I will show you pleasures such as never dreamed. And then Superman, kind of tears up a little bit that he had to do that. If you can kind of see that. And yeah, what? And then I'm going to kind of just skip a little bit ahead. This is where Superman comes back from that universe with Matrix Supergirl. And he leaves Matrix Supergirl in the hands of the Kents, and they kind of raise her. And she ends up becoming like Superman's adopted sister. But, publicly, she's kind of like Lana Lang's like niece that they go by. But yeah. So then Superman, of course, is messed up from that experience and stuff, even though it wasn't his world, it's still like, damn, like that's just messed up. Just knowing something like that, like something crazy like that happened in a whole other universe that could have happened to your own, and Superman has to live with that. You're not staying then, son. No, Pa. Well, maybe. I don't know. I have to be alone for a while. I need to think. Son, what is it? You can't hide anything from me. Something's wrong. Real wrong. I can tell. Yes, but it's something I have to resolve myself, Ma. I'll spend the night, but let me just get away for a moment. Take care of Supergirl for me now, okay? If you can impart to her half the love and strength you gave me, she'll be a fine human being when you're done. It's strange now to feel like the wind against my face after that hard vacuum of that other Earth. Let me see if I can read this in order. Strange to think of 5 billion humans going about everyday lives oblivious to the annihilation of their doppelgangers. And strange, too, to know in their eyes I'm still Superman, still that untarnished champion of humanity, when I know that from now on, things can never truly be the same again. Yeah, and yeah, Superman had killed those Kryptonians and stuff, and this is actually written by John Burns himself, as you can see right here in the corner and stuff, the guy that started the reboot and stuff of of the Superman comics for post Crisis. Do you think Lex had more chances to defeat Clark in the Justice League if hired by Hugo Strange. If he hired Hugo Strange, after all, Hugo is a professional psychologist, so he can pressure even the Question. Huh? You know that actually does sound like an interesting matchup between the Question and what's his face, Hugo Strange. I don't really think that would make much of a difference though. I mean, the Justice League has fought guys like the Psycho Pirate and stuff. That guy can like, I heard he can like manipulate people's like emotions across the multiverse and stuff like that. So nah, I don't think Hugo Strange is really gonna do anything. I mean, he can definitely do some stuff if they were like captured and whatever and stuff like that for quite a while. Sure, maybe. But anyways, what else? So yeah, darker moments inside Superman stories. Lex Luthor torturing Lana Lang, and trust me, Lex Luthor, despite being that bald entrepreneur type of guy and stuff like that, like Lex Luthor is he's a menace and stuff. And he's a complete villain and all that. I know some people will be thinking, well, Lex Luthor he sees Superman as like, oh, he's halting humanity's growth and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a part of the reason why he hates Superman. But I mean, to be honest with you, Lex Luthor is just that petty. He just hates Superman just because. You know, that's just how he is. So let me get to something real quick because I'm going to show you how evil Lex Luthor can definitely be when it comes to some stuff. This is some stuff from the earlier Superman Man of Steel thing. Um, yeah, oof, yeah, this is definitely some evil stuff right here. So basically, in this comic right here, this is actually the cover of this comic. Hang on, right there. Secrets Revealed by John Byrne and Terry Austin. So basically, Lex Luthor was trying to figure out this connection between Clark Kent and Superman and stuff because obviously he doesn't know that Clark Kent and Superman is like one and the same and all that. And he knows that there's this lady Lana Lang right here who's connected to both. So he's trying to figure that out. And look, I know a lot of people kind of clown on Superman and be like, man, everybody should know that Superman is Clark Kent and stuff because all he does is just put on a pair of glasses and change up his hairstyle a little bit and looks like a completely different person. Like everybody should know that he's Superman. Well, here's something that John Burns had kind of always like kind of emphasized, but just think about it. Why would anyone want to like live their life as a human if you have the powers of Superman, right? That's why Superman doesn't wear a mask because he doesn't really have really nothing to hide. So people kind of usually assume that he doesn't have like an alternate or a secret identity or something. Now, back in the Silver Age, or the Golden Age stuff, yeah, they will probably assume that Superman was definitely like that, that he had a secret identity and stuff like that. But John Burns kind of was like, yeah, but they never ever like questioned that though. Like how would they know unless Superman kind of just told them, hey, I got a secret identity and stuff. So John Burns was like, why the hell would Superman do that? That doesn't make any sense. So when he started working on the books and stuff, he was like, okay, so here's the thing. People do not know that Superman has a secret identity. If they're gonna try and figure out is like, oh, because you know how like if you've seen the Flash has that ability to kind of like blur his face a little bit from like photographs and stuff like that, so that people won't be able to identify him. Yeah, well, Superman basically can kind of do the same thing to avoid people from like recognizing Superman as like Clark Kent and all that stuff, and being like, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? So basically, this is them trying to figure it out. Let's see. This is how Lex Luthor, and I swear to God, it is. It must be like some kind of hell to work for like Lex Luthor. At least people not recognizing Clark as Superman is much better than people assuming the Turtles are just guys in rubber suits. I think it was a lame running gag that needs to really die. I disagree with that, Ashes. I mean, because the Turtles live in a very like grounded world and stuff, so it's kind of like, yeah, at the time, like they'll be like, "What are you wearing? Some kind of dorky Halloween outfit or something?" You know what I mean? Because they like, the people in the Turtles' world isn't like, they don't really see it as like, oh, like you're some kind of mutant or alien or something like that. Unless they see a Ninja Turtle and stuff, sometimes they'll run and freak out or sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, you're just wearing a weird Halloween costume for some reason, and you're kind of a weirdo carrying around ninja weapons and stuff like that." You know what I mean? So it was what it was with that one. I do like the trench coats though. That I know it's kind of a dumb disguise, but I do like the trench coats and the whole yeah, whatever they be wearing that back in the '87 stuff. But anyways, let me try to put on my Clancy Brown type of thing. Excellent. Very well, Armstrong. Squad is covering all the public appearances of Superman, while Jenner's team is investigating Clark Kent. Don't pull. I want you to find this woman. That's a pretty tall order, Mr. L. We can't see any traces of her on the footage, less than 6 months old. It's like she just vanished. Then you will have to give it a little extra effort, won't you? This project is already 2 weeks past my original schedule. I would not tolerate further delays. Get to it. Yes, sir. And as for you, Amanda, I am well pleased. You may join me tonight for dinner. I'll send someone around to your quarters with a selection of gowns for you to choose from, and someone to do your hair for you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Luthor. I'm honored, of course, but I have a prior commitment. Perhaps some other time? Perhaps you did not understand me, my dear. I said tonight. Ow, ow, ow. Yes, yes, sir, tonight. Yeah, you can kind of see Lex Luthor. Bro, this man, back in the day, he used to take whatever he wants, bro. He don't give a damn and stuff. He'll blackmail you, blackball you, control you, whatever. That's what I'm saying. Like it is hell working for Lex Luthor. Um, if you're like, a loose end and stuff like that, of course Lex Luthor is gonna find some way to get you killed so you won't be able to trace it back to him. If you're a woman that he finds attractive and stuff, he will definitely pull his weight around, and he will definitely try to with that, sleep with you and stuff like that as a woman. Like, yeah, Lex Luthor, man, he was definitely something back then. I actually remember John Burns actually loved this one story too, right, with Lex Luthor, where like Lex Luthor was like, what did he say about Lex Luthor? He said that okay, so there was a story, right? It's just a small story about Lex Luthor, where he was kind of like interested in this one girl, right? I don't remember her name, but basically she's a waitress and stuff, and she works at some diner, and basically she's not exactly in a good place financially. Like she's married and stuff, and like she's like a newlywed and all that stuff to like her high school sweetheart and stuff like that. They're kind of starting to have a little bit of a troubled kind of life and all that stuff, trying to get by. And then Lex Luthor appears to her and stuff, and is like, "Yeah, so I like you and stuff. So how about this? I'll give you $500,000 if you drop everything right now and come back to me, like come back with me to the city of Metropolis and spend 6 months with me. Easy money." And she's like, "What do you take me for?" So she was offended by it, of course. And then, of course, like she told her friends, her coworkers there at the time, and he's like, "You got 10 minutes to decide." And then they're like, "Girl, you got to take that offer. You got to take them up on that offer. I would do it." And then she kind of contemplates it, and then she waits a little bit and thinks about it, and she's like, "Well, I guess." And then Lex Luthor drives off and like trolled the hell out of her. I was like, "Bro, that is evil. That is like that is so petty and evil as hell." And then his chauffeur is like, "Wow, you took a lot longer than that, sir, to wait for this one." Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm just saying Lex Luthor, he can be like sometimes there's just subtle ways of just making a character, evil and stuff. Well, at least the trench coats are stylish. Everything is better than the human rubber mask turtles were wearing in the '87 show. That was purely Uncanny Valley. But yeah, I guess they don't really have that problem in the comics anymore because people are more self-aware of the mutants and stuff now in the Ninja Turtles. So yeah, anyways, very foolish of Amanda McCoy to attempt to decline my invitation like that. She's been with LexCorp long enough to know my slightest word is to be considered a command. Fortunately for her, in this case, she's the most brilliant computer scientist in her field. I can overlook this. I can overlook her gaffe this time. Now then, Harrisman, explain your delay, Mr. Luthor, and then blah blah blah. Oh yeah, and this is with Metallo and stuff. So like basically, um, this is kind of like a little bit after Superman had an encounter with Metallo and realized how much kryptonite has an effect on him and stuff. And Lex Luthor was like, hmm, this can definitely be my weapon to use against Superman and stuff. And then the scientists are all like, well, we're wearing these suits and stuff for our protection because, it's radioactive and stuff. And then Lex Luthor was like, we already know it doesn't have any effect on humans, so I'm fine. And then the scientists are like, well, I mean, yeah, we can remove the kryptonite, but we might kill him in the process. And then Lex Luthor just says, oh, well, fuck that. And then just takes the kryptonite out of his chest and stuff and kills Metallo and stuff. So, yeah, like, let me read this off right here. Are you mad? Wait, hang on. Luthor, you fool. You stupid idiot. You stopped me. I could have killed him, but you stopped me. Remarkable. You lift your head even with the neutralizer still attached. Of course, I stopped you, Metallo. The killing of Superman is a pleasure reserved for myself. Are you mad? You're just a man. Rich and powerful, yes, but only a human. You don't stand a chance against them. Oh, but I do, Metallo. And you given it to me. You've given me kryptonite. Yes, well, that's the problem we're kind of addressing now, sir. Um, the kryptonite in Metallo's chest cavity is what powers him. We can't find a way to remove it without killing him. Oh, is that all? Well, my dear Dr. Harrison, that's easy. Yoink! Simply do this. And there we have it. The solution to Superman sent down from the very heavens themselves. If I were a religious man, I would almost say God was on our side. So yeah, and then this is where Lex's men kind of pay like a trip to like what's his face, the Kent's family farm and stuff, and kind of tranquilizes the Kents and all that stuff. And then Lana was kind of passing along as Lex's men was kind of going through Clark's stuff to kind of get information as to what's the connection between Clark Kent and Superman. And then since Lana kind of saw their faces and stuff, they're like, we can't take a chance, so we got to take her. And then they take her back. They capture Lana, as you can see right here, have her blindfolded, and then Luthor is like, okay, so let me kind of read this one off. She had a bad allergic reaction to that knockout dart Breen shot her with. So I ran a few tests just to be on the safe side. She has almost no tolerance for drugs. If we try to use truth serum on her, she'll be dead before she can tell us anything. How unfortunate. How terribly unfortunate for her. And then, yeah, Superman's kind of just flying around, just, it's like, oh, well, enjoying the peace and stuff like that. And, this camera that Lex Luthor had built was kind of following him along. Here's him vibrating his face and stuff so that they wouldn't be able to, like, identify him as Clark Kent and stuff like that. Superman ends up losing a thing. Then he's kind of like, all right, well, I'll probably head home and chill. Clark Kent's apartment. Nobody in the outer hall. What's this? Footprints? Bloody footprints? Human blood? And not more than an hour or so old? They lead to the door of my apartment, then back down the hall to the caretaker's broom closet. Let's see who we got here. Oh my God. Lana Lang? Clark, help me, please help me. Don't let them find me. And you see, like, Lana was tortured like hell, and she was beaten and everything and all that stuff. You see, I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's pretty dark. And I think that's actually where Zack Snyder for like the Man of Steel, like if you remember, the plot of that where later on the last act and stuff, Lex Luthor had captured and kidnapped Ma Kent and stuff because he was using her as a leverage for Superman to kill Batman, to kind of prove that Superman is just as bad and just as, like, as barbaric as everybody says he is. But if Batman kills Superman and stuff, then basically it proves that Superman is not all powerful and he has him out the way and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a win-win situation for Lex Luthor pretty much. But yeah, but he also did the same thing with Martha Kent in that movie, just like with Lana Lang, where here he kidnapped Lana and tortured her to figure out Superman's secret identity and all that stuff. And she kind of held in and all that stuff so that, Superman wouldn't find out, oh, yeah. And of course, Superman is pissed off and stuff like that. He pops in and yeah, and Lex Luthor shows off his little kryptonite ring and stuff and just, yeah, pretty much beats the hell out of Superman and stuff. And he's like, damn you, Luthor. And then he flies Lana home and all that stuff or whatever. It's just the whole thing. And then pretty much the sciences lady that Luthor had kind of slept with and stuff, the computer sciences, she was like, "Oh, it makes sense. Clark Kent is Superman." And then Lex Luthor is like, so basically it's like this. Oh my goodness, that would never have occurred to me. And yet, given the body of evidence, it was so logical, so falsely logical. And then Lex Luthor is like, logical? Is it? To a machine, perhaps. Yes, a soulless machine might make that deduction, but not Lex Luthor. I know better. I know no man with the power of Superman would ever pretend to be a mere man. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, such power is to be constantly exploited. Such power is to be used. But the data was reliable. You have failed me, Amanda. This conclusion is utterly useless. Remove it from my computers at once, and then remove yourself. I have no place in my organization for the people who cannot see the obvious. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like Lex Luthor, where yeah, of course Lex Luthor can figure out like other people's like secret identities and stuff with this whole computer thing, like he did for Superman. But you know, deep down, he just can't accept it because he's like, no, there's no way in fuck that Superman would humble himself to be like, oh, you know, to be a human just like everyone else, or to work a 9 to 5. He's like, there is no way somebody with Superman's powers is gonna, you know what I mean? Because if you have Superman's powers, just imagine like what you can do with it. You can get money and stuff like that, or whatever, you know. But to like live yourself humbly, you know, working a 9 to 5 and stuff like that, a regular like normal life, and taking pride in that. Yeah, Lex Luthor just can't see it. But in the movies, though, Lex did find out about you know, Superman being Lex Luthor, you know, the Jesse Eisenberg one with the whole BVS and stuff. Of course, he found out that wasn't in his way and stuff, and he also found out too that Bruce Wayne was Batman. So it was an easier way for him to manipulate both of them against each other. So there was that. So just some stuff that I'm just saying that was in like BVS that actually like was kind of like possibly taken from the comics, or that did kind of occur in the comics. But this isn't really completely about me standing up for BVS though. What do you think about the theory that Mr. Missy at Spitlake is the same entity in all comic or on screen media? I think it fits his character very well. Um, I don't have a major opinion, but yeah, that's another underrated Superman villain too. I wouldn't say I want to see Mr. Missy as Spitlick in a live action kind of thing or whatever, but yeah, no, I don't want to see him in like live action. I mean, they could, but I don't want him as like the main villain or anything. But yeah, that's a very powerful villain that even Superman can't just simply just defeat by like punching and kicking or lasering him. Like, nah, he's a whole tune. And then this is where Superman meets Cat Grant and stuff. In case you don't know, Cat Grant used to be a love interest and a former girlfriend of Superman, as you can see. And she's actually a former actress and all that stuff. Yeah, turned like she started working at the Daily Planet and all that stuff later on. I think later on in the comics, she started working for Lex Luthor back when he was the president. So I think she was like I can't remember. She was like a senator or something, or like yeah, like his secretary and stuff like that. But yeah, and she also had a son too. Um, but because like before she had met Clark Kent and stuff, she had a son named Adam and stuff with her previous husband. But because of her Hollywood life, and she ended up like becoming a party girl, drinking and all that stuff, she became neglectful and stuff. But after she got herself cleaned up and all that, she wanted to see her son again. And like yeah, but unfortunately, her son ended up dying though when they got back together. And was killed by the Toy Man in this comic right here. Actually, hang on, it's not in that pile that I have of Superman comics, but it's actually right here. Yeah, I'm planning on giving this comic back to my comic book shop or selling it back to them. It's not a bad comic; it's all right. But I'm just like, well, I don't really have much really use in reading this for now. But yeah. Anyways, let's see more darker moments of Superman. This is the latter half of this book where basically Superman is pretty much like so if you guys remember Superman the animated series and stuff, and if you guys like remember like the end of the season finale where Superman gets captured and brainwashed by Darkseid and ends up believing that he's like his son and everything, and he's like trying to conquer Earth. Well, this is basically the storyline that's based off of that, where Darkseid had captured Superman and brought him to Apocalypse. But here, though, it's a little bit different because Darkseid wants to use Superman because there's a civil war on Apocalypse and stuff, and Darkseid kind of wanted to make an example out of his subjects. So he ended up pulling Superman aside, brainwashed him, thanks to Amazing Grace and stuff, one of Superman's villains and stuff, and she ended up kind of having a little bit of her way with Superman actually and stuff. Let me get to some of this because it's kind of fucked up when you really just think about it though. And yeah, that's Superman wearing that that outfit and everything, and with Amazing Grace. I mean, hey, say what you will about Superman, but I mean he be getting girls. Amazing Grace, Cat Grant, hell, he dated a freaking mermaid, Lori, the mermaid, Lana Lang, of course, Lois Lane. But yeah. But anyways, this is Superman after he gets back in control. He's pissed the fuck off on Darkseid for controlling him for all that time and stuff and using him. And then Superman pulls up on Darkseid and is like, Darkseid, and he's like, I'm about to fuck him up and everything. And he's like, Superman, yes, and I've brought a little present for you. He's like, no, yeah, he gets hit by his own Omega beams and stuff like that. Yeah, but Superman's squaring up. He is ready to throw hands with Darkseid, fight to the finish and all that stuff. Let's finish this once and for all. Yeah, hey, Superman, this game is finished, but on my terms, you know. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, come on. For the people that be saying Superman's boring and stuff, and you got stuff like this happening, I'm like, come on, it can't be that boring. Or you got at least some stuff definitely going on than just cat, like Superman rescuing cats out of trees and stuff like that, or whatever. But yeah, so what do you guys think so far? But yeah, but Lex Luthor, yeah, definitely he's done a lot of things. Like he's a lot of evil things. I don't have the comics for it right now, but Lex Luthor has definitely done some things. Like he is Jesus, where do I even begin? Like he blackmailed the police captain Maggie Sawyer and stuff over her sexuality and stuff. Like he found out that she's like that she's a lesbian and stuff, and that she's in a like marriage and stuff. And this is back in like the '80s, like the early '90s and stuff. But he was gonna blackmail her over her sexuality and stuff, and she has like a husband and a daughter and stuff. But it's kind of like one of those type of things and stuff. And it was like a really sensitive subject back then. Definitely, and that was definitely when representation actually mattered. In today's day and age, it's kind of like, all right, whatever with that. But yeah, or like one time, Luthor was like, he actually killed one of his female personal trainers because he had like a female personal trainer and stuff back when he was pretending to be like his own son and stuff, and he was like training like with this like woman and stuff, and there was an accident where she accidentally hit him, and then he was like pissed the fuck off, but then Supergirl came in because he was dating Matrix Supergirl at the time, and then he was like, all right, I'm gonna have to get my get back on her later. And then later on, when she's like in the girls' locker room and all that, and she's by herself, Lex pops up and just kills her, and it's like, look, Superman. And this is, I think, around the time of the death of Superman too, actually, or after the death of Superman. So like funeral for a friend and all that stuff, where Superman was still kind of dead. Yeah, Lex Luthor was bragging. It was like, look, Superman, I killed a woman and you couldn't even stop me and all that stuff. Like, I'm just like, bro, yeah, that's some petty shit, bro. Like, yeah, that's just how evil Lex Luthor is, man. That's all I gotta say there. Like, he kills people for less and stuff like that. He actually has a son too named Jerry, or had a son named Jerry White. So in case you guys don't know who Perry, like guys, I'm pretty sure you guys, if you know Superman, you know who Perry White is. Perry White is, of course, Superman's boss and stuff. And what can I say about Perry? So Perry has a son named Perry White Jr., but he likes to go by Jerry White because Jerome is both of their middle names and stuff. So where I begin? So basically, a long time ago, before Jerry was born, Perry, I think he was reporting on like Vietnam and stuff like that, and his wife kind of had an affair with Lex Luthor and stuff, which she didn't know that he had died or any, or because he was presumed dead, like Perry was presumed dead. So then she kind of had an affair with Lex Luthor, who had taken advantage of her because like I said, Lex Luthor is just that kind of guy that likes to take what he wants and stuff, right? So basically, that happened, and then she got pregnant. Perry comes back and finds out. He knew it was Lex Luthor, and he knew that Jerry wasn't his actual son the whole time. He just never really said anything about it because it was kind of like their little dark secret. That was just like, all right, it's like one of those we don't talk about it kind of things. Even Jerry himself didn't know that he was actually Lex Luthor's son the whole time. So, anyways, later on, Jerry gets in some mess with some gangs and stuff like that. It's a whole story. But moving past that, I think it was called Soul Search. So basically, Jimmy Olsen had a falling out with Superman and Clark Kent and stuff like that because after Superman had like exiled himself from into outer space, but just came back home, he was around Jimmy, and Jimmy's hair kind of fell out because of some stuff that was affecting Superman. So Jimmy was pissed off about that and started resenting Superman and Clark Kent. So then later on, he started spending his time at like a nightclub and all that stuff. And Jerry had got into it with some guys where he owed them some money. And basically, he had the money and he was going to give it to him. But the nightclub was kind of like, it was different. Like, the nightclub was like some kind of front for like some demoness or something. So basically, he made the money disappear and turned it into like rocks or something. And then the guys were pissed off because they thought that Jerry was trying to finesse them. So then they pulled out their guns and shot up Jerry and stuff. And Jerry was next to Jimmy and stuff, and they both got shot up and rushed to the emergency room and stuff like that. And like yeah, and luckily they weren't like hit at any like vital organs and stuff. But the doctors are like, yeah, but it's crazy. Like they weren't hit anywhere fatally, but they're still dying though somehow. And then that's when the Black Racer approaches like Superman and stuff and tells him what's going on. There's this demoness that's trying to like steal both of their souls and stuff like that. So the Black Racer takes Superman's soul or whatever to hell to kind of save Jerry and Jimmy and stuff. But then um, pretty much he tried to rescue him by fighting off the demoness and all that other stuff. Didn't exactly work out because Jerry ended up having to sacrifice himself to save Jimmy, and he died and stuff. So not only did he like his soul and all that stuff get taken by her, but yeah, he died in real life, and Superman was able to save Jimmy and stuff. So like I'm just saying like all that hopeful stuff that people be talking about how Superman stands for hope and truth, justice, and all that. Well, yeah, there is hope that at least Jimmy came out of that, but there are still darker moments that do come out like that do come from like what I mean in the face of like hope. I'm like, well, the constellation rises. At least Jimmy's alive, but kind of sucked that Jerry died though, you know. But in a way, Jerry did kind of go to heaven though, because at the end of the story arc, the Black Racer approaches Jerry and commended him for his heroism for saving Jimmy and had took his spirit to heaven. So it was a kind of just a dark, but also like yeah, that type of ending, you know. But yeah, sometimes I wish Osborn would have been shown to be powerful like Lex without glider costume and the Goblin Serum. I wouldn't. I don't know about without. That's kind of like his base power set alone, because he has to go up against Spider Man, who pretty much has all those things too, except for like, well, the glider, of course. But but that's just my opinion. And of course, Osborn definitely has proven himself a lot because he took over Shield. He renamed it Hammer and all that stuff. The Dark Avengers. He was leading that team and all that stuff. So yeah, not Lex Luthor. Norman Osborn definitely is a force to be reckoned with too at times. So, yep. All right. Let's see. This is a comic that I got. It's not going to be relevant to this stream, but it's just like Superman and Vixen teaming up. Thought that was a pretty cool. So I was like, well, why not get it? This is from the Reign of Superman and stuff. This is basically like where Superman had came back to life after the death of Superman. So it's Death of Superman, Funeral for a Friend, then Reign of Superman, where they did a movie adaptation of it. It's been a while since I've actually watched it. I should probably watch it again Even though I'm not really like a fan of like the DC animated movie universe and stuff, but still, just why not? So basically, Cyborg Superman is like the main antagonist and stuff, and this is also the introduction to like Steel and Superboy and the Eradicator, aka the last son of Krypton, and all that, which is like he's like a clone of Superman basically. But yeah, so let's see. There are definitely some dark moments here for sure. So let me read some of this off. Why don't we hear about Superman's other son anymore? Just John now. You're talking about like Chris Kent, Superman's adopted son, or Connor Kent? Because Connor, yeah. But yeah, let me just read how dark this is, because this definitely shows you just how evil Superman's villains can really go. All right, Kryptonian technology, huh? Anyway, it's clear the president should send in troops medical assistance. Let's finish the sweep before we make any decisions, Mr. Quinn. I'm moving into a second zone closer to ground zero. Everything's smashed flat, covered with ash, lifeless. Wait, not quite lifeless. Let me check on this. Superman out. Hey, it's like one of those Superman, the high tech dude. It's the Marines, girl. We're saved. Superman, you like won't believe what happened to us. We were in our car, but like when the blast hit, we were in the underpass, so we beat the odds. We walked away into this hell. What happened to the Ruskies? Pushed the button. I mean, what happened to? Wow, yeah, the Ruskies. Did they push the button? No, it was an alien ship aided by the rogue Superman. You're all in great danger. The rogue is unstoppable. There he is behind you. Where? I don't see anything. I don't see a thing. All this haze. I said he's behind. Jesus Christ! Look at this. He killed a entire family and everything, bro. Look, he's behind you, Mr. Quinn. False alarm. Some wounded animals. I put them out of their misery. This thing's too big, especially yeah. So he like Cyborg Superman out here killing civilians just because the thing about Cyborg Superman is that he hates whatchamacallit. He hates Superman a lot because he feels that Superman is to blame for like ruining his life and stuff. So being Cyborg Superman and stuff, Hank Henshaw wants to like make Superman's like reputation just bad. Okay. And he was definitely trying to do a lot of that too with the Reign of Superman story. Chris, not Connor. I think Chris is in the Phantom Zone now or something. Yeah, you're a legit Superman fan. Yeah, I mean Superman. Well, I'm a little bit. I would say I'm a little bit on the casual side, but I do like Superman though. As far as like DC superheroes and stuff goes, I think Superman is probably like my eighth favorite character. But I do think the character is like very like kind of just a little bit underrated. You know what I mean? In a way where there's so much more that they can do with Superman, but they choose not to, and that's just like, come on, DC. Anyways, some scenes of Superboy right here, and this girl that he was kind of into, Roxy, and then you kind of have his other love interest, Tana Moon, kind of fighting over him and all that stuff a little bit. So yeah, Superboy kind of had that going for him back then. He's underrated and a bit underutilized. Yeah, yeah. I need a reason. Like, I actually need to read some stories with Chris Kent, but I know which era that's from. That's from like in the 2000s stuff. I kind of learned the film because I used to have a DC Encyclopedia book and stuff, and I remember seeing Chris Kent in there. He didn't have his own profile, but I remember seeing like Superman's profile. I think they were talking, or Lois Lane, where they were talking about like how they adopted a son at the time, Chris Kent, and he's the son of General Zod and all that stuff. Yeah, that could have been interesting though. But yeah, then I heard something about them trying to vilify him, and I'm just like, well, that's dumb. It's kind of like the same thing they tried doing with Cassandra Cain, where they try to like vilify her too, and I'm like, but why? But yeah, and then Cyborg Superman and all that stuff. Oof, here's where it definitely gets some dark stuff here. I wish I had the much confidence in my powers when I was your age. What? Firebird to base. 2 minutes 30 and to flight. Just cleared the Tumbler Mountains. It's an inferno over here. If it spreads east, the naval petroleum reserves outside the Bakersfield could blow sky high. Yeah, well, things. Oh yeah, we'll make things plenty of hot for that guy. Like it isn't hot enough already. The temperature doesn't bother me, son. In fact, I think things are going to get a lot hotter. Superman to base. We're under attack. Can I see the road to much smoke? I'm jamming the frequency in the case. He's using it to hone in on his. Oh my god! And then Superman's like, "Oh shit!" Like because Cyborg Superman, he was pretending to be on their side and stuff, and he was working with like the other Superman and stuff. And then he does this bullshit, and he was like, "What the? You used your heat vision to, but we said we protect them. I said I protect them, and I said that they would die in here." Superman always keeps his word. As for you, welcome to hell. You fooled me, lug nuts. Fooled the whole world. End of the line, man. I'll stop you. And Superman always wins. That's right, boy. Except I'm Superman. Like, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, like Cyborg Superman, he's got a cool design and he's just again evil as hell. Like especially back in the '90s, he was a problem for like Superman, Superboy, and Steel and stuff. Like, I mean, look at storylines like Reign of Superman, Trial of Superman. Um, I think yeah, he was in Superman Red and Blue. Like in the '90s, Cyborg Superman was definitely something, man. And he just did nothing but want to make Superman's life just a living hell. But yeah, so Superman, Cyborg Superman and Superboy kind of just fighting and squaring off and stuff. But yeah, Mongol kind of just right there and stuff because he's working with Cyborg Superman and he helped destroy Coast City. It's a whole thing. But yeah, again, just showing you just how dark Superman stories can definitely be and stuff. And then here it kind of leaves off on this implied decapitation of Superboy, which we kind of know, obviously. Yeah, he's fine. But yeah, I know I've been talking for a minute and kind of reading. I know my reading's a little choppy because I don't really read out loud. I usually like to read in my head. So sorry about that, guys, if that's a bother. Then, of course, this is where Superman really comes back in the reign of Superman and teaming up with Steel and all that. Let's see. Action Comics. This is just a story with Supergirl and all that stuff. I'll probably show off this one real quick. I actually do like this storyline though. This is actually where Superman is dealing with his old childhood friend, who ends up becoming one of his villains called Conduit. Conduit's a very underrated Superman villain and stuff. But basically, he's kind of like Superman's own version of of Whiplash. Basically, as you can see, he can like make these like tendrils, like these tentacles and stuff, come out of his like cyborg suit and all that stuff to fight Superman. And the catch is the tentacles are like infused with kryptonite, so it could definitely like hurt Superman too. So yeah, but let me kind of show you why this guy just hates Superman's gut, specifically Clark Kent. Okay, and no, he doesn't know that Clark Kent is Superman, but still, it's all kind of connected. So let me explain. So this is basically Conduit. This is how his powers be looking and stuff, where he can use his tentacles and everything, and they're kind of like laced with kryptonite. I believe this is around the time when Superman and Lois were kind of like, I think they were still engaged and stuff, and they were kind of starting to move in like together and all that stuff. Superman doesn't have to like hide his identity by wearing the glasses and all that stuff. And again, I told you, I know a lot of people don't really like it too much, but I do like the wavy hair though, the '90s kind of look. Then Lois finds one of like Superman's old pictures and stuff, and he kind of tells her about his like days back in school. Like Superman like back to school and stuff. Like just to give you an idea, he used to be into stuff like running track and all that stuff. He used to be into like debate club and all that, sports, football, baseball, all that type of stuff. Just the regular kind of thing and stuff. Um, Politics, etc. And then this guy next to him, that was actually Superman's best friend back in the day, Kenny Braverman. And Kenny Braverman, he was a good friend of Clark's and stuff, but he was like, his dad was always like, he was always coming second to Clark and everything, whether it be debate club, track and field, um, basketball, football, everything. He just always felt like he was in Clark's shadow. and his dad was always telling him how good of a person Clark is and all that stuff, and just like kind of belittling his son a little bit, like all that stuff, and it kind of just got to him to the point where he just snapped, you know. And then the man ended up becoming a supervillain and tried to assassinate Clark Kent later. And it was like, man, that's some bullshit. So yeah, and Kenny Braverman actually does have a cameo. Like I kind of just like watched. I rewatched an episode of that Legions of Superhero episode that Superman the Animated Series has. I think it was, what was it, the New Kids or something like that. Um, yeah, Kenny Braverman actually had a appearance on there actually, where he was like kind of like Clark's rival, like his yeah, like a rival or like a bully type of character and stuff. But yeah, and here he tried to assassinate Clark and all that stuff openly and all that stuff by planting a bomb. And then later on in the next issues and stuff, he's kind of fighting Clark Kent. I mean, fighting Superman and all that. So yeah. So just an idea of like some of Superman's like, yeah. So let me read some of this off, just because. Good thing I keep a change of clothes stashed on the roof. Standing at that podium where the bomb exploded, my tux got shredded, almost like the blast was meant for me. No, I'm just being paranoid. I haven't done any really rough exposés lately. Have to think harder. There must be another explanation. Something obvious. Something obviously that my door. No, no other explanation. Someone wants me dead, but who? Yeah, and you got this knife with Clark Kent's picture from their football days and stuff on there. Yeah, and then we get the shot of like Conduit and stuff, and these flashbacks of how he just hates Clark Kent and all this stuff, and how he's crashing out because his dad's telling him how much better Clark Kent is and stuff. He's like, and who's like, all right, so yeah, so this exclusive Kent has survived yet again. I should have expected this. The fool has always led a charmed life, blessed beyond all reason, and who would know better than me? I'm home. Son, who was elected king of this year? Take a wild guess. Clark. Kent? Kent? Boy, what is wrong with you? All people ever talk about is how great Clark Kent is. They don't talk about you because you don't win, ever. You're an embarrassment to me, Kenny, and a failure to boot. Leave me alone. Can't stand it anymore. I'm not a failure. The whole thing makes me so crazy. I could just, no. It's his fault. Clark's. If he wasn't around, everybody would get off my back. Someday, Clark. Someday. After all these years, this specter of Clark Kent continues to haunt me. I mean, the specter of Clark Kent continues to haunt me. The day for atonement has come. It's final contest between Clark Kent and me, and this is the one time. Bam. That Kenny Braverman is going to win. And then, it just says the next continuation and all that stuff. So yeah, as you can see, that's what kind of it looks like under his mask. That's Kenny Braverman. One of Superman's villains and stuff. I feel like, yeah, that's definitely a character that's underused. But yeah. And then this is like also bizarre, like a Bizarro comic and stuff. As you can see, Parasite and stuff right here. I'll just skim through it. I'm not going to read anything from it. Well, unless I feel, just because, why not? Sorry, I thought I messed up the corners for a second. I was like, oh man, I messed up the back. And then I believe this is where Superman is like struggling with his powers and stuff. I think him and Lois had canceled their engagement around this time because Lois just couldn't really deal with all that, the Superman shenanigans and stuff. And something was happening with Superman where his powers were being like jacked up or whatever, and Parasite ended up like absorbing all of like Superman's powers and stuff. It was crazy. As you can see, for the kill, no hope for a cure. Superman, Clark. Oh, sorry, Lois. I think I know I said I wasn't gonna read, but I'm just like, why not? Just kind of just show you guys. I think there's one slim chance it's very dangerous. I may not return. Then let me come with you. There's nothing for me here anymore. Don't give up, Lois. You're a fighter. We're both fighters. One of the reasons I always love you. Get back before you get hurt. Wait. Now, Lois, wish me luck. The parasite, he's your cure? I've been tracking him for blocks, and then, they square up. Ooh, Johnny Dome. Superman is dark, yes, but Zack Snyder went too far on that. Not really, but okay. Johnny Dome, welcome to the stream. This is the first time I'm seeing you on my channel. I know we've had our little debates about stuff like Man of Steel and Zack Snyder and all that, James Gunn. Still don't believe in James Gunn and all that other stuff, but okay. But anyways, but feel free to comment though. Unrelated to DC, have you ever watched those Marvel anime about Avengers? Wonder should I try them out or not. No, I've not actually watched it. To be honest with you, I haven't even watched those animes with Blade and like in X Men and stuff. I need to actually watch those though. I know that I'm tripping. I mean, dark is in color and hard to see. I mean, the way how it was shot, it was professionally shot though. But okay. But no, I have not seen those animes, Ashes. I've seen clips of it though. But yeah. So let me show you. Ooh, that's actually pretty cool. Superman blasting off his heat vision. I'll be happy to give it to him. Pause. Not good. Oh, let me read some of this off. You're crazy, Clark. Chances are, in 1 in 1 million, this would plain will work. This plan will work. But if it doesn't, if Parasite absorbs too much of my power, at least I have a fighting chance against him here on the moon. Not good. He's already absorbed as much energy from me as before, and it hasn't even begun to drain me. Of course, the gluten the glutton wants more. Well, I'll be happy to give it to him. And he goes all Cyclops and stuff and like, yeah, like blast him with that heat vision. No, I thought he absorbed my heat vision, not a burnt to a crisp, and I can't turn it off. Good Lord, he's alive, rebuilding himself. He's a tone to heat vision now, plumbing the energy out of my body so fast, can't stop him. No control. And then Parasite ends up becoming this hulking monster and stuff. Check it out. Didn't agree with him killing Zod. I mean, you can maybe not agree with it, but he actually did kind of do it one time in the comics. I already read that storyline earlier. It's actually this comic here where he actually did kill a version of General Zod. And as you can see with the executioner mask, that's actually Superman. But anyways, he killed another version of General Zod, as I had read earlier in the stream, where that version of Zod had was responsible for killing off pretty much about billions of people on the planet Earth and all that. And since the Earth didn't have any kind of justice system or he can't be trialed, Superman had took it upon himself to kill Zod and his henchmen and stuff. And this isn't just a story by just any other writer. This is actually written by John Burns himself. And I'm not saying John Burns is the best Superman writer per se, but he is definitely one of Superman's most prolific writers and stuff. And Superman also doesn't have a no-kill code either, and he has killed people before. Of course, not innocent people, but yeah, villains and stuff. Doomsday. I mean, come on. But him killing Zod, though, I mean, yeah, he didn't have any other way to kill Zod. So yeah, inside that movie. But it was what it was with that one. But to keep Superman lighthearted and to keep him in this whole I guess what Zack Snyder was saying with bubbles, keeping him in a keeping him in a bubble and stuff. It's kind of hard to do other stuff with the character and stuff if you're not willing to step outside your comfort zone and just try out different things. I'm not saying every idea Zack Snyder had about what he had in mind for DC was a $1 billion idea, but at least kind of have him involved, but also have somebody to kind of edit and kind of also be kind of just manage him a little bit and be like, all right, we're not going to do this because this would definitely piss off a lot of fans, with the whole that idea he had about Lois kind of having an affair on Superman with Batman or whatever. Yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea and stuff. Never, it was just a concept, an idea. Never went onto the big screen, and that's a good thing. But yeah, agreed. I put Zach in Michael Bay category. Great director, but making things look cool needs help with writing. Yeah, and honestly, the thing is, Zack Snyder didn't even write those movies. He just directed it. Really, like he had like the imagination there for it, and I think somebody else wrote the script. But yeah, and then of course WB had like the interference and all that stuff with it. But to be honest with you, those movies weren't like that bad and stuff, or it wasn't like oh, you know what I mean, like that egregious to like oh the DC comics and stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, so basically, Superman fighting Parasite, almost said Darkseid, fighting Parasite and stuff. Again, another villain that can keep up with Superman. So yeah. So tell me that was not entertaining or that wasn't boring or oh that can't work in modern day and stuff like that. I'm just saying. Yeah, that storyline with Lois and Bruce was dumb. Killing Dick is. I agree. I mean, I know that. Yeah, he said Dick Grayson and stuff was the Robin that got killed off, but honestly, you can kind of retcon that because they didn't. They never said like it was Dick Grayson that got killed off by the Joker and Harley Quinn. I think they said that in like a novel or something that was related to Birds of Prey, but Birds of Prey tried to get away from the DCU and try to be its own thing or something. It's a whole thing. It's stupid. But anyways, and there's already a lot of contradictions too with like Harley Quinn's age. If I remember, I can't speak. If I remember from the DCU, so yeah, there's also that too. So you can easily write around that and just say that was Jason Todd and not Dick Grayson, and all that stuff. That's just my opinion, but yeah, I agree. It was pretty dumb. And then these are some of my Superboy comics that I got. This is obviously a Batman comic, but this is actually the first time Tim Drake has suited up as Robin. So yeah, I definitely wanted to get it and all that. And where him, Batman and Nightwing had teamed up against Two Face. I guess I'll show that as an extra. But let me get to Superboy and show you guys some of this stuff. I'm not gonna read off all this stuff, but just wanted to show you my comics. See, see how Superboy's getting impressed and stuff. Like yeah, even he got challenges too. Just because he's half Kryptonian, half human, I don't mean he can't get that work too sometimes. I'm about to show you that one with knockout though. And honestly, compared to like James Gunn and stuff, because my problem with James Gunn, apart from I'm not gonna bring up the I'm not gonna strawman and bring up the weird pedophilia stuff. But my problem with James Gunn is that he's gonna keep enabling this whole comedic kind of banter thing of like not taking superheroes and stuff like that seriously. And I kind of don't want that for superhero movies because we already got enough of that too with Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder, and the current Marvel Cinematic Universe in itself, where it's been nothing but a joke. Okay, and they're going to do this with DC Comics. you know, that's not a really a good idea. That's just my opinion, though. Where you're just going to like lean in being more like jokey and all that. I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling that. Let me open this up. And as you can see, she is definitely a knockout. Rebel Moon is bad. I don't hate Zach. Ooh. Yeah, Superman definitely has some outfits. Rebel Moon was bad. I don't hate Zach. I like animated owl movie. What? And Dawn of the Dead and 300. Yeah, he had good movies. Rebel Moon, it was an experience. I've said that. I already talked about that in my last stream. I was like, it's a unique movie. It feels like a rated R version of like Force Awakens, but it's not really that bad though. Like I would just like person myself, if you just take away the weird sexual violence stuff that he had in there and all that stuff, then sure. But to be honest with you, I would rather watch Rebel Moon like its own original thing more so over than most stuff that's been coming out of Star Wars because stuff that's been coming out of Star Wars has been kind of complete trash and also nothing but a bastardization of like what came before it. So it is what it is. Retcons after retcons and stuff. Like yeah, again, adult stories done with Superman or Superboy in this case. Superman had some outfits. Oh yeah, Peacemaker had dark stories and a Rocket backstory was sad. Yeah, it did, but I'm just saying like but the movie in itself is like in itself though is just a complete joke. Or Peacemaker is a complete joke, and I'm like I don't want to hear about all this from like or I don't want this to be with Superman and stuff because people like have this perception that Christopher Reeves is the definitive Superman or that's the Superman like that's the standard and it's not because if you read the comics and stuff it's completely different from the Christopher Reeve stuff or the Richard Dahmer stuff to be more precise because I don't want to I'm not trying to throw shade at Christopher Reeves but those movies have pretty much made up like a lot of that stuff on the fly and stuff like Superman having to give up his secret like he has to give up his powers to tell Lois Lane his secret identity, and then he kind of undoes all that stuff because he has to get his powers back. And I'm like, that's not how that works. Or what's another example? Or like Superman Returns, where Lois Lane had a son with Jerry White's, I said Jerry White, Perry White's nephew and stuff, and that never happened in the comics before. She doesn't have a son named Jason. Well, really, it's with Superman, but she doesn't know that Superman is Clark Kent, even though Clark Kent would be trying to win over Lois as Clark Kent than Superman, which he actually did succeed in the comics. That's how they got married. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that they kind of made up. And I can kind of see why Christopher Reeves, like back when he was kind of alive, he didn't really look too fondly on those Superman stuff because he was like, yeah, all this jokey stuff and all that is just not, no. Slither was mainly dark. Slither. I mean, retcons have been a thing in Star Wars forever. George Lucas basically killed all the work writers did in extended universe books with prequels and the Clone Wars. Well, yeah, those were definitely some retcons there too, and stuff with Clone Wars and prequels and stuff. Well, I don't know about the prequels though. I mean, I know some things was changing around because back in the prequels and stuff, originally, like, let me use an example. Like, Obi-Wan was supposed to be the student of Master Yoda, right? But they kind of changed it where, what's his face? They let me think. They changed it where Obi-Wan is actually the student of Qui-Gon Jinn, and Qui-Gon Jinn is the student of Count Dooku, and Count Dooku is the student of Master Yoda. So Yoda's kind of like Anakin, and Obi-Wan's like, kind of like their grandmaster. You know what I mean? Um, through that way, but not like a direct master. You know what I mean? And then what else? But still, I mean, it worked out. But it worked out though. But I mean, but what I'm saying with the current Disney stuff, they've been definitely changing some stuff around and making it like bastardizations and stuff. Like for example, the Acolyte. They put in Siths during an era where the Jedi's had believed, or Jedi is plural and singular. Where during the time when the Jedi had believed that the Sith were like, extinct and stuff, they put in the Sith in a storyline that involved Jedi and all that stuff or whatever. And it was like, but they were supposed to be in peace for like 1,000 years, a millennium. So why set the Acolyte 100 years? You know what I mean? Before the Phantom Menace, like that doesn't make any sense. Oop, my bad. I think I skipped something, but I'll go back to it. I kind of with the left of the clones not having chips in, they just turned on their own accord. It makes it darker. It does make it darker, but I would have preferred, like I do prefer the chips. I mean, when I first saw it, I actually did think they were doing it on their own accord. But when I actually watched Star Wars, the Clone Wars and stuff, when they explained that's why, I was like, oh, that makes it make sense um because they build a relationship with the Jedi and all that stuff, and the Order and stuff, and they're loyal to them. So, like, it would make sense that okay, Palpatine and Count Dooku and all of them would have some kind of contingency to control the clones and stuff the way that they did um, during, Revenge of the Sith and all that stuff. But yeah, but it would definitely make it darker though. I would definitely admit that. That's for sure. Superman Returns was disappointing to see as a kid. I like Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. Zod had a presence in both. Yeah, like I said, I didn't really grow up with the Christopher Reeve stuff like that. I didn't really see it too much until I was a teenager, and I just recently watched Superman 3 and 4 like a few months ago. So yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see the appeal, but it's still not good, and it's definitely not better than Man of Steel. Like honestly, and this isn't me just glazing Zack Snyder, but I'm just gonna be honest. Like Man of Steel really is the best Superman movie that we've ever gotten, including animated movies too, because even in there they can't really get Superman that right. But yeah, and yeah, I definitely remember Superman Returns when it came out. It was also kind of just disappointing to watch. I was like, wow, I'm completely bored, and I was actually looking forward to a Superman movie. Yeah, the current Disney just butchers the EU, and they keep hiring people that didn't like or understand it. Star Wars Visions as a concept made more sense than Acolyte. Yeah, I never really seen Visions, so I can't really say. But yeah, yeah, and the thing is, they take inspiration from the extended universe, but you drop the extended universe for whatever reason, even though fans liked it, and that kind of just like, oh, okay, so that just makes everything redundant. Then, just wondering, do you only want DC to be only dark? I mean, it works. I mean, depends on like the character and stuff. I'm not saying I want everything to be dark, but I don't want things to be lighthearted. I want a little bit of a balance where I can kind of at least take it serious. I don't want things to be all jokey or whatever, like what Marvel is doing currently. Because if that's their thing, that's their thing. But I want there to be like some level of gravity and stuff there. Now, it doesn't have to be over the top, edgy and dark, like let's say Titans and stuff. Like, because that show was, yeah, that show was bad, but it was to me it was a little bit entertaining. But I wanted something like, but yeah, but Man of Steel wasn't all that dark, and neither was BVS and all that stuff. Like, nah. And I'm defending that as my generational thing. Hell, even the Dark Knight trilogy. Like, come on, everybody likes the Dark Knight trilogy and stuff. Yeah, Dark Knight Rises. Looking back on it, definitely not the best Batman movie. That's for damn sure. But to be honest with you, yeah, yeah, I do want something like a Dark Knight and all that stuff. Completely disagree. Acolyte creators were actually respecting people both he current canon, the current canon, and the old canon, trying to blend it together, and it actually had a purpose. Unlike Filoni, who just references puts references. And I can't really say, but I know they definitely like one of the major things was that they retconned Kiandi Mundi in there, and Kiandi Mundi like Keanu Mundi is supposed to be like in his 80s and stuff, but they set it back where because Acolyte takes place 100 years before Phantom Menace, and this will be before Keanu Mooney was born. So now you're implying that Keanu Mooney is much older than that, which I'm not. Excuse me, saying an alien species can be older than that, but you know what I'm saying though. Like yeah, you kind of just shot yourself in the foot right there. Where okay, so if you didn't get something as basic as that right, then yeah, what was the point of like including him then? And then he's also the same guy that said that it's been peace for like 1,000 years, except for that one time where the acolyte and blah blah blah. But anyways, let me show you some of this off. More K, more, no less, less. Bare your soul, K. Get it off your chest, K. Yo, K. Yo, your ship's come in, K. Right here. Been a bad boy, K. Put me across your knee. That's no, that's entertainment. And then you get like knockout and stuff right here and all that stuff. Oh, come on, Kay. One more dance. You're the best. Yeah, real knockout. That's me. See you boys tomorrow night at 7. Here comes your fearless leader, girls. Better be decent in this business. What's the word, Kay? The natives are restless. I like this lipstick, the right color for a cave babe. I mean, what kind of cave babe? Richard Leakey or John uh, table three's mine. Well, the German suit wants me only because last night he asked for a lay and you Pinto Tanya. You want to fight? You know the rules. Otherwise, knock it off. Sorry, Kay. Yeah, Kay. Yeah, sorry. No, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm as bad as my grand Superboy pursuing alleged smugglers in Malala Bay. A Kona reporter is on her way. The Superboy. How you like the rock that cradle? He's not so much. Betcha K could take him with one hand. Oh, I don't know. I might need both. And then Superboy kind of just handling some drug smugglers and stuff like that or whatever. Because Superboy used to be in like Hawaii and all that stuff and stuff, fighting crime and all that stuff. Cracking jokes and all that. Yeah, he was pretty cool. He shoots, he scores. Now where are your pals? Oh, right behind you. Hang on. Finally a punk. Um, I did him in. I did Superboy. Get real. That's what the other team thought. Finally, a punk with an IQ bigger than his shoe size. If only you used that intellect for good and not evil. Whoa, very pretty explosion. Now, why don't I think you were smuggling bootleg CDs? Yeah, that's kind of how Superboy would be talking and stuff. Like, I mean, like, because he was a modern teenager back in the 90s and all that stuff. He used to be cracking jokes and stuff. He was like, huh, just tell me one thing. Who do you guys work for? Who runs the Hawaiian mobs? I mean, I'm going to make an arch enemy here, right? At least give me a name. The big kahuna, top banana, blood pog. You mock us. You mock the Silcon dragons. You will mock us no more. Man, those guys just have no sense of humor. You know what I mean? They come in and riding the surfboard and stuff at super speed and all that stuff. Yeah. All right, let me read some of these comments. Ooh, man, where I last week? Oh yeah, here. Said that Acolyte. I'm biased to Superman 2, but Man of Steel as someone favorite is hard to argue against. Yeah, I mean, look, Superman 2, like Superman 1 and 2. I understand that they're like kind of like a film kind of classic kind of thing. If you want to be like that, I mean, I'm not no offense, no shade to you, Stephen, but I'm just saying like whatchamacallit, they are film classics, but I mean, compared to Man of Steel, like if you want to talk about like which one would I rather watch, definitely Man of Steel, you know. But yeah, it's just no shade. Aquaman, Shazam, Blue Beetle was light. People like them. Aquaman, I enjoyed the first Aquaman. I never saw the second one because it looked too goofy. Shazam was all right too. Again, didn't watch Shazam 2 because it was too goofy. And what was that third? I mean, yeah, Blue Beetle. I saw Blue Beetle. It was really not that good. I mean, it was mid to me. My family kind of enjoyed it because, well, the family and stuff. But I just didn't really care much for it. But yeah, Constantine was good. Dark DC movie. I did not watch Constantine. Constantine is a unique adaptation and that managed to get the essence of the character roughly, but with a lot of changes for it. Yeah, I would definitely say that actor that plays as Constantine definitely does look like John Constantine. I mean, who honestly cares about Keanu Mundi? He's just an asshole who shitted on Anakin for having a crush on Padme while having the whole harem to himself. Besides, he was easily owned by clones. Yeah, I mean, and I've been seeing why people don't like Keanu Moody, and I'm not defending him, but what I'm saying though is, like, if they can get something that basic, excuse me, if they can get something that basic wrong for a story and stuff when they're supposed to have like a type of timeline, then they can't afford to be making mistakes like, oh, well, we didn't know that Keanu Mooney. We should have checked how Keanu Mooney was before you decided, hey, let's put him in there for a little bit of a cameo and stuff during a time where he wouldn't even be born yet. Like that doesn't make any sense. And then you had to retcon his age and stuff like that. Like that's like to me that's like lazy writing. And it's the same thing. It actually reminds me of like Thomas Astro from like Miraculous Ladybug. Now, in case you guys ever watched like Miraculous, now I watched Miraculous. I'm not gonna lie to you. For a while, then I kind of dropped off. I think at around season 4 because it was just yeah, there was no character development, no progression, and it was just like getting weird. But one time, Thomas Astro, the creator, so there are two characters, right? There are two siblings, um, Julika and Luca, right? Now they're both siblings. Now Luca was supposed to be like the older sibling, right? And Julika is like the younger sister. Like, yeah, Luca is the older brother. Julika is the younger sister, right? Now, originally Luca was supposed to be like a few years older than Julika, but there was an episode, right, where they end up sharing the same birthday. So that's kind of weird. It's like, wait, hold on. I thought, what's his face? Luca was a few years older than Julica. So why is it that they got the same birthday? Then they had to retcon in there that, oh well, they're actually twins, and Luca is actually the firstborn son and all that stuff or whatever. He was born first, and Julica is the younger sibling. So I'm like, so that's lazy writing, then. You know what I mean? If you get basic stuff like that, because that's something that should have been established when you made it. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, just the height of like bad writing. Then here's Superboy fighting Knockout and stuff. There was definitely a lot of sexual innuendos that was getting tossed around and all that stuff. But yeah, let me see if I can kind of say some of this stuff. Hang on. Caught me with my skin tight pants down that time. This was supposed to be a cake. Everyone said I was Hawaii's only superhero. Hey, you a superhero? You looking for a 6 foot redhead built like on the Mauna Loa volcano? All my life. Or I mean, yes, I'm a citizen. Let me take a wild guess where she went. That babe's gonna learn the hard way. She can't hide from me. Who's hiding, Superboy? And you know what? And pause for me. I like it hard. Okay, yeah. She's 2 for 1. I mean 2 for 2. But let's see who gets the best 3 out of 5. Want to make 4 out of 7? And then you get this butt shot of what's his face of Knockout. Oh come on! Don't tell me it's already over. It's over already. You're young. I thought you'd last a couple of hours at least. Oh, don't worry. I got what it takes to handle you. Yeah, show me. And then Superboy knocks her into those cars and stuff. And then here's a pretty sexy shot, but she's also like, "Oh, that's more like it. It's your first time, isn't it, Superboy? Fighting a woman, I mean. Maybe I should start a little more gentle. Here, it doesn't mean we're going steady. Whoa, reality check. Now I'm going to skip ahead right here. Just the right thing to say, don't you, Superboy? See, I wasn't interested in that spear, but I knew we hit it off. I can tell you how long it's been. Blood pounding, breathing hard, sweating. This is ecstasy. Listen, Knockout, I'm kind of flattered, I guess. I mean, you're a total Betty, and there's no one I'd rather trash a city block with, but I still gotta take you in. You want me? You have to come and get me. Eager to please, I see. Fast, resourceful, relentless. I mean, yeah, relentless. We could have a lots of fun. One minor glitch in that program. I'm the good guy and you're the bad babe. But that's why you like me, isn't it? Or is it because I'm stronger than you and you're more experienced? Who said I liked you? I've seen the look, believe me, and damn, time really flies when you're having fun. I hate to hit and run, Superboy, but I had a lovely time. Hope it was good for you too. Let's do this again real soon. Ow. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, these are like the type of things that you might expect from like, well, this is Superboy, but yeah, from like the comics and stuff compared to like, oh, because if you just strictly just watch the movies and stuff of like Superman and all that stuff, then you're not going to really have much of an idea who the character is or what he does and stuff because they haven't adapted a lot of stuff into like those type of things, which that's more of a DC problem where they have to keep like trying to at least like and stop going in all in Batman. And don't get me wrong, I like Batman as a character. He's a cool character, and of course, Batman's a very profitable character at that too. But you got Superman and Wonder Woman right there, who is also the pillars of the DC universe. So you would kind of think that you want to put more like effort behind those characters as well, and try to like uplift them. You know, that's just my take on it. You know, because like, come on, like recently, I'm gonna use Marvel for example, real quick, because I just gotta say this. Marvel just got like they canceled a Black Panther game, right? That was supposed to be coming out, and this Black Panther game was supposed to be like this thing where, oh, you get to play as your own kind of Black Panther, like some Avatar type shit. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Like, why would you do that? Like that's stupid. Like, why would you do that? Why can't you just play as T'Challa, the actual Black Panther? But yeah, it's just dumb. But yeah, yeah, and they had to cancel and all that stuff, and they went 4 years into production and stuff like that, and then they canceled that Wonder Woman game too, and all. It's just come on. So it's just a if you want to be a modern gamer, it's just a terrible time to be a modern gamer. I'm just saying that. But what does this got to do with DC and Superman and Wonder Woman and all that? Well, they can definitely work on those characters though. I'm just saying, like they can definitely have video games, cartoons, and stuff. My Adventures Superman is definitely not a good adaptation of Superman as a character. Um, it's definitely like this person likes anime and they try to do their own anime Superman by making it some kind of like isekai, but it's just not that good. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see the appeal and that it has its own fans, that's for sure. But it's not a good series though. It's like like so much stuff is just not really done well. So, what do you guys think of these Superman comics and stuff? Did I convince you guys that Superman can definitely go dark and stuff, and that you can do dark stuff with Superman, or how Superman had to make complicated decisions and stuff like that, or how dangerous Superman's villains can actually be, and how evil, like Lex Luthor, Cyborg Superman, Darkseid, and stuff, how evil those characters can be from time to time, or how imposing they can also be compared to Superman. And I get Superman's like overpowered. I know he's super strong and all that, even though there are characters that are just as strong, if not more powerful, like Captain Atom, Green Lantern, and stuff. Characters like that are more powerful than Superman. But still, but he is the traditional superhero and all that stuff. I do still think that he is definitely a relevant character and that he can definitely work. And I was kind of saying this one time on this other stream with one of my co-hosts, Jay Leno, and stuff, because he did a live stream a few weeks ago, and I was saying like, really, Superman can definitely work just as much as like Dragon Ball Z when you really think about it. Because why else do you think people compare Dragon Ball Z and Superman together so much? Because like the exact same things that happen to Goku and his Avengers and stuff happens to Superman. Pretty much. I mean, they both fight aliens, they both fight demons, they both have time traveled, been to other dimensions, alternate realities, universes, multiverse shenanigans. They both got human wives and stuff like that, or love interest. Um, they have half human, half alien children, and all that stuff. So yeah, so they definitely have a lot in common. So what I'm saying is the stuff that draws people to Dragon Ball can be the same stuff that can draw people to Superman. And if they put more time and effort into investing into Superman by, I don't know, doing video games, more cartoons, um, whatever, instead of just doing one little thing, then yeah, you can definitely like do a lot more with Superman as a character. But that's just my opinion though. But tell me down what you guys think. This is the end of my stream. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is the General Fox, and I'm out. Peace, and until we meet again.